Have you ever felt like life is deliberately closing doors, redirecting you from certain people, opportunities, or paths you once thought were meant for you? This experience may feel disorienting, like being cast adrift in uncertainty. But what if this redirection is not a loss, but an invitation? A call to step into a more profound version of yourself. Many spiritual traditions and psychological theories suggest that moments of solitude and uncertainty are not signs of failure, but catalysts for deep personal transformation. Carl Jung, a pioneer in psychology, explored this phenomenon through the concept of individuation. Unlike conventional self-improvement, individuation is not about acquiring new skills or external achievements. It is an inward journey of self-integration, where we align with our most authentic essence. This journey often requires a phase of solitude, as one must distance themselves from societal expectations to truly listen to their inner self. The individuation process is not linear or easy. It compels us to face aspects of ourselves that we have ignored, suppressed, or feared. Jung referred to these hidden elements as the shadow, qualities, emotions, and impulses buried beneath layers of social conditioning. For example, someone who is conditioned to be agreeable may struggle with expressing their anger, fearing rejection or conflict. Yet, repressing these natural emotions leads to inner turmoil. True individuation means recognizing that the shadow is not something to be eradicated, but understood and integrated. When we acknowledge our suppressed aspects, we prevent them from manifesting unconsciously in harmful ways. This process requires deep introspection, self-compassion, and a willingness to dismantle long-standing facades. Isolation often becomes a necessary phase in individuation. When we begin shedding outdated versions of ourselves, we might find that certain relationships, environments, or habits no longer align. This can be painful, as it may feel like losing a part of our identity. Yet, this solitude creates space for self-discovery. Many great thinkers, from philosophers to spiritual leaders, have emphasized the importance of retreating from external noise to hear one's true thoughts. Consider a person who has always sought external validation. When they finally step away from societal expectations, they may feel momentarily lost. However, this emptiness is fertile ground for self-realignment. It is in these quiet spaces that we gain clarity, reconnect with our values, and develop a deeper understanding of our true purpose. Individuation is not just about confronting the past. It is also about harmonizing opposing forces within us. Jung believed that the psyche consists of dualities, conscious and unconscious, masculine and feminine, logic and intuition. Many struggles arise when we deny one side of our nature in favor of another. For instance, someone overly reliant on intellect may suppress their emotional wisdom, leading to a disconnected sense of self. The individuation process urges us to embrace all parts of our being, fostering balance rather than conflict. This newfound harmony empowers us to navigate life with authenticity and resilience, free from the constraints of societal conditioning. Ultimately, individuation is about reclaiming the self, even when it means walking a path different from what is expected. Though it may involve temporary solitude, it paves the way for genuine connections, both with oneself and with others who resonate with this authenticity. It transforms loneliness into purposeful solitude, self-doubt into understanding, and uncertainty into clarity. By embracing the full spectrum of who we are, we free ourselves from imposed limitations and step into our highest potential. This journey is not just psychological, it is profoundly spiritual. It is an ongoing evolution toward wholeness, inviting us to embody our most authentic and fulfilled selves. The isolation we experience at different points in our lives is not a singular event, but an essential, recurring phase of our psychological and spiritual evolution. Many misunderstand isolation as a form of suffering or rejection, but in reality, it is one of the most powerful tools for personal transformation. The universe does not separate you from others to punish you, but to create the necessary space for deep self-reflection. In a world filled with noise, societal expectations, and external distractions, isolation acts as a reset, a chance to rediscover your true self without the influence of outside forces. When everything around you quiets, you gain the opportunity to confront the aspects of yourself that you have long ignored. At first, solitude can be intimidating, especially for those unaccustomed to being alone with their thoughts. In today's fast-pacing society, where distractions are constant, silence can feel overwhelming. Yet, within this silence lies the key to understanding yourself on a profound level. Imagine standing in a dense forest at night. Initially, the darkness seems frightening, making you feel lost and vulnerable. But as your eyes adjust, you begin to perceive the beauty hidden within the shadows, subtle movements, intricate patterns, and the vitality of nature. Similarly, when you embrace solitude, what once felt like emptiness transforms into a rich inner landscape where you can finally meet your true self. You uncover your desires, fears, and aspirations, gaining a deeper awareness of what truly fulfills you. This journey is fundamental to self-actualization. In a world that often pressures individuals to conform rather than discover their unique essence. Modern society constantly dictates who we should be, what we should want, and how we should behave. These external expectations can obscure our authentic identity, making it difficult to distinguish between what we genuinely desire and what we have been conditioned to accept. Isolation allows you to strip away these societal influences, providing a sacred space for personal truth to emerge. In this solitude, you can honestly evaluate your beliefs, values, and priorities, enabling you to reconstruct your identity from a foundation of authenticity rather than external validation. Though uncomfortable at times, this process is crucial for living a life aligned with your deepest self. Isolation also provides a rare opportunity to confront and integrate the parts of yourself that you have suppressed or denied, the aspects Jung referred to as the shadow. These hidden parts may include unacknowledged fears, repressed emotions, or characteristics that do not align with the image you present to the world. When surrounded by external noise, it is easy to avoid these aspects of yourself, but in solitude they surface, demanding attention. Rather than fearing these revelations, embracing them allows for inner harmony and self-acceptance. Instead of viewing your imperfections as weaknesses, you come to see them as integral aspects of your wholeness. This reconciliation is a crucial step toward genuine self-love and confidence. Furthermore, isolation strengthens your intuition and deepens your inner wisdom. Without the relentless interference of outside opinions, your ability to trust yourself grows stronger. You begin to make decisions from a place of inner clarity rather than societal pressure. Carl Jung, one of the most influential minds in modern psychology, he argued that loneliness does not stem from a lack of company, but from being unable to express one's deepest truths. This insight underscores the idea that true connection starts within. By embracing isolation as an opportunity for self-discovery, you cultivate a sense of authenticity that allows you to forge deeper, more meaningful relationships with yourself and others. Loneliness is often misunderstood, particularly when it strikes in the midst of a crowd. Many people perceive it as an undesirable condition, believing it signifies a lack of connection or something amiss in their lives. However, from a deeper philosophical lens, moments of profound solitude can serve as an invitation to explore who we truly are. This type of loneliness doesn't just highlight our emotional gaps. It nudges us away from the external distractions that fill our daily routines, encouraging us to connect with the quieter, more intimate aspects of our being. In the absence of external noise, we become more attuned to the subtle stirrings of our inner world, which may have been overshadowed by the demands of social interaction or the clutter of our minds. The true opportunity lies not in escaping this feeling, but in using it as a catalyst for personal growth. It's in these isolated moments that we have the chance to step into a deeper understanding of ourselves, challenging long-held assumptions, and beginning the work of self-invention. Creative solitude and its power. Rather than viewing isolation as a painful experience to endure, we can reframe it as a space of creative solitude. Many visionaries, artists, philosophers, and spiritual leaders have found that it is in isolation that their most profound ideas emerge. This form of solitude is not passive or filled with despair, but an active arena for exploration and personal evolution. When removed from the distractions of the world, the mind is liberated to delve into deeper realms of thought and creativity. Artists, for example, often seek quiet moments of reflection to immerse themselves in their craft, unbothered by societal expectations or the pressures of constant social interaction. In these times, they tap into a wellspring of inspiration that would otherwise remain buried beneath the surface. Philosophers, too, in their solitary moments, uncover insights about life and existence that might not be possible in the cacophony of daily life. Solitude provides the space needed for introspection, allowing individuals to hear their own inner voice clearly and without interference. The transformative nature of solitude. Solitude, in its truest form, can act as a crucible for personal transformation. It's not just a retreat from others, but a profound process of shedding the old self and emerging as a more authentic individual. Consider how a caterpillar, in its quiet isolation within the cocoon, transforms into a butterfly. Similarly, in solitude, we confront the parts of ourselves that have long been hidden, our fears, insecurities, and contradictions. This introspection can be uncomfortable, even painful at times, but it is necessary for growth. When we stop relying on external validation or the approval of others, we begin to understand what truly resonates with our inner being. This self-awareness fosters a sense of autonomy, empowering us to live in alignment with our authentic values and desires. Through this process, we shed outdated beliefs and patterns, uncovering a deeper sense of purpose. The result is not just an internal shift, but a new way of being in the world. As we evolve, our relationship with others, our choices, and our response to life's challenges also change. We become more resilient, grounded in our truth, and able to navigate life with greater clarity. Jung's concept of synchronicity and isolation's hidden gifts. Carl Jung's concept of synchronicity introduces a powerful lens through which to view moments of isolation. According to Jung, seemingly random events are often connected in meaningful ways that transcend logic or reason. This idea suggests that isolation, rather than being an empty or purposeless state, can actually be a necessary period in which the universe aligns events to prepare us for something greater. During times of solitude, we may feel disconnected from the world, but if we adopt a mindset of openness, we might begin to see that this isolation is not random. In fact, it may be guiding us toward new understandings or significant changes in our lives. Often, we do not recognize the full extent of these shifts until much later, when we look back and realize that key moments of transformation occurred in the silence and stillness of solitude. Trusting in the unseen forces at play during these times allows us to embrace the waiting period with a sense of purpose and curiosity, knowing that it is an essential part of our journey toward greater awareness. The universe's communication through solitude. Isolation offers us a unique opportunity to engage with the universe in a way that's not possible when we're distracted by the noise of daily life. In these moments of solitude, we become more receptive to the subtle guidance the universe has to offer. Jung proposed that the unconscious mind is constantly sending us messages through dreams, symbols, and synchronicities. These communications can be hard to decipher in the midst of external distractions, but solitude offers the space for us to tune in and listen more closely. As we withdraw from the world, we enter a state where our inner wisdom can rise to the surface, revealing insights that were previously hidden from us. This period of silence is akin to the gestation of new ideas that may eventually shape the direction of our lives. The messages we receive during these moments can feel like gentle nudges or profound revelations, guiding us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. By embracing isolation with an open heart and mind, we allow these messages to emerge, leading us toward personal and spiritual growth. The dark night of the soul is a profound concept within both spiritual and psychological realms, describing an intense and transformative crisis. Originally coined by the 16th century Spanish mystic Saint John of the Cross, this phase represents a spiritual trial where the individual feels deeply disconnected from their sense of purpose, identity, and even from God. It's an experience marked by overwhelming emptiness and hopelessness, leaving the person in a state of confusion and despair. In these moments, the soul may feel lost, with no clear direction or purpose to guide them. However, this period of suffering, though painful, is not merely a trial. It's a deep process of inner alchemy. Carl Jung, in his exploration of the unconscious, recognized the value of such dark moments, interpreting them as a critical phase in the journey toward individuation, the integration of all aspects of the self. For Jung, the dark night of the soul serves as a purifying experience, where the soul delves into the deepest recesses of the unconscious, confronting the shadows, those hidden, repressed parts of the psyche. It is here, in the depths of despair, that true transformation begins. The inner battle, confronting the shadow. During the dark night, individuals are forced to face their most painful truths. These truths manifest as fears, traumas, insecurities, or unacknowledged desires, the shadows of the psyche that have been denied or ignored for years. The experience is far from easy. It's a struggle that may seem insurmountable, yet it's precisely in this struggle that personal growth occurs. It's a time when old identities crumble and outdated beliefs are shattered, exposing the raw, vulnerable aspects of the self. Imagine trying to repair a broken mirror. To do so, you must first take it apart, breaking it into pieces, before it can be pieced back together into a new, more coherent form. In a similar way, the dark night demands that we face our fragmented selves, our contradictions and imperfections. Isolation plays a significant role in this process. While it may seem like a punishment, this solitude is actually a sacred space where the soul can engage in deep introspection without distraction. It's in this retreat from the external world that the soul begins to process and integrate the buried parts of the self. Purification and transformation, the alchemical process. This period of intense introspection is not a mere punishment, but a vital purification. It's comparable to the ancient alchemical process of calcination, where raw, impure material is burned down to its essence before being transformed into something new and valuable. The dark night strips away everything that is not aligned with the true self, false identities, attachments, and outdated ways of being. As these layers are burned away, the individual undergoes what feels like a symbolic death. A death of the old, the outgrown self. But in this destruction, there is also creation. Just as a forest regenerates after a fire, so too does the soul renew itself after the fiery trials of the dark night. The pain may feel overwhelming at times, as if life itself is unraveling, but this is the essential work of spiritual and personal rebirth. It's a messy, uncomfortable process, yet one that brings greater clarity and alignment with the true essence of the individual. The birth of the true self, a new beginning. After enduring the dark night, individuals often find that they are not the same as they once were. They are no longer bound by the identities and beliefs that previously defined them. They emerge stronger, more authentic, and aligned with their true purpose. This process of transformation is not merely intellectual or emotional, it's spiritual. Jung's concept of individuation emphasizes this. It's through confronting the unconscious, through integrating the shadow, that a person can achieve wholeness. The dark night is not the end. It is a necessary part of the larger evolutionary process of becoming who you were always meant to be. As individuals move through this painful, transformative phase, they learn to accept and integrate all parts of themselves, both light and shadow. This integration leads to greater balance and a fuller, more harmonious self. Reconnecting with the divine, a new relationship with spirit. The dark night of the soul also opens the door to a deeper, more authentic relationship with the divine or the universe. During this period, superficial beliefs and external teachings may no longer hold the same power or meaning. What once seemed sacred may be questioned and even dismantled. Yet, in this moment of spiritual desolation, something new emerges, a direct, personal experience of the divine, one that is no longer mediated by external dogmas or the teachings of others. The soul begins to find its own path, its own truth, and its own connection to the sacred. This newfound relationship is not based on intellectual knowledge or tradition, but on lived experience and spiritual transformation. It's through the depths of the dark night that individuals may come to understand the sacredness of life in a way they never could before. Their connection to the divine is no longer abstract or theoretical, it's real, palpable, and profoundly personal. Carl Jung, in his deep exploration of the human psyche, saw the unconscious as more than a collection of repressed memories or experiences. For him, it was a vast, dynamic realm of symbols, archetypes, and psychic forces, an essential part of our being, offering insights and guidance that could lead to personal transformation. Jung believed that the unconscious is not just a passive storage place for our past experiences, but a source of untapped wisdom, a wellspring that could enrich our lives when we learn to pay attention to it. In the constant noise and distraction of daily life, we often overlook the messages coming from this deeper part of ourselves. It is in moments of solitude, however, when we are removed from external influences, that we can begin to tune into the unconscious with more clarity. During these times of isolation, our minds naturally shift inward, giving space for our inner wisdom to surface and speak to us. Jung saw isolation as a key moment for introspection, where we could turn our attention away from the outside world and listen to the subtle communications of the unconscious. When we step away from the constant demands of daily life, the unconscious has the opportunity to reveal itself more forcefully. We may start to have dreams or intuitions that seem to come out of nowhere, providing answers to questions we had not consciously asked. In isolation, we can gain access to the deeper parts of ourselves, which would otherwise remain hidden beneath the surface. These moments of solitude become an invitation to open ourselves up to the unknown and to listen to what the unconscious has to share. Dreams, symbols, and archetypes, unveiling the inner world. One of the key ways the unconscious communicates with us is through dreams. Jung famously referred to dreams as the royal road to the unconscious, seeing them as direct expressions of the hidden aspects of the psyche. In times of solitude, our dreams often become more vivid and meaningful, providing us with insights into our emotional state, fears, and desires. Jung believed that dreams are not simply random or meaningless, but rather contain profound symbols that reflect deeper truths about who we are. By analyzing these symbols, we can access parts of ourselves that we might have repressed or ignored, allowing us to understand our deeper needs and motivations. Symbols also appear in our waking life, often unexpectedly. These symbols are not random occurrences, but part of the collective unconscious, which is a shared aspect of the human psyche that transcends individual experience. Jung identified universal patterns or archetypes that appear across cultures and throughout history, such as the hero, the shadow, or the wise old man. These archetypes serve as guides, helping us navigate our journey through life and make sense of the challenges we face. During times of isolation, these symbols may become more pronounced, offering us wisdom and insight at crucial moments. Instead of dismissing these symbols or trying to explain them away, we can use them as a tool to deepen our understanding of ourselves. The process of self-analysis, integrating the unconscious. In solitude, we are not just given the opportunity to observe the symbols and messages of the unconscious, but also to engage in the work of integrating these insights into our conscious lives. This is where the process of self-analysis becomes crucial. By taking the time to reflect on our dreams, intuitions, and the symbols that appear in our lives, we can begin to unravel the hidden meanings behind them. This process of interpretation allows us to break free from old patterns, recognize the ways in which we have been trapped in repetitive cycles, and gain the clarity needed to move forward with our growth. Isolation provides the perfect environment for self-analysis, as it removes the distractions of daily life and allows us to turn inward. Whether through journaling, meditation, or simply sitting with our thoughts, solitude helps us confront the unconscious material that arises. In doing so, we begin to integrate the lessons of the unconscious into our waking lives, fostering greater psychological balance and well-being. It is in these moments of deep introspection that we can cultivate a more conscious and authentic life, one that is aligned with our true self. Voluntary versus forced isolation, a distinction that matters. Jung recognized two distinct forms of isolation: voluntary and forced. While both types of isolation involve a separation from the external world, they are fundamentally different in their nature and impact. Voluntary isolation is when we consciously choose to withdraw from the external world in order to seek inner clarity and understanding. This type of solitude allows us to take control of the process, to intentionally create the space for introspection and personal growth. On the other hand, forced isolation arises when circumstances beyond our control, such as a loss, a breakup, or a period of illness, push us into a situation where we are forced to be alone. While this type of isolation may not feel empowering at first, it can serve as a powerful catalyst for change, forcing us to confront ourselves in ways we might not have otherwise. Both types of isolation have their unique benefits. Voluntary solitude allows us to create a nurturing space for growth and healing, while forced isolation may compel us to deal with issues we have been avoiding. In either case, the key to making the most of these isolating experiences is to approach them with openness and curiosity, rather than resistance. By embracing the lessons offered during these times, we can harness the full potential of isolation to deepen our connection with ourselves and gain greater clarity about our life's purpose. Voluntary retreat is a conscious, deliberate decision to step away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life in search of inner peace, spiritual growth, or deeper self-acknowledge. This kind of isolation is typically associated with spiritual and religious practices, such as those of monks, hermits, and meditators, who retreat to remote places or monasteries to dedicate themselves to contemplation, prayer, and self-reflection. The key difference here is intention. The individual consciously separates themselves from the external world, not to escape, but to deepen their connection to their inner essence, the divine, or universal truths. For those on a spiritual journey, voluntary retreat becomes a sacred opportunity to shed worldly distractions, immerse in introspection, and seek answers to life's most profound questions. It is in these moments of solitude that a person can examine their beliefs, emotions, and thoughts, free from the interference of social pressures or external expectations. Voluntary isolation is often chosen during periods of transition, spiritual awakening, or times when one feels the need to reconnect with their true purpose. By embracing this time of reflection, individuals open themselves to growth and transformation. Forced isolation, navigating the unexpected. In contrast, forced isolation is a condition imposed by external circumstances, often suddenly unwelcome and disruptive. Examples include isolation due to loss, illness, a global pandemic, or other unforeseen events. In such situations, we find ourselves in solitude not by choice, but by necessity, which can lead to feelings of frustration, helplessness, and despair. It may seem as though we have lost control over our lives, and the solitude can feel punitive. However, Carl Jung teaches us that while we cannot always choose our circumstances, we have the power to choose how we respond to them. This shift in perspective is the key to transforming forced isolation into an opportunity for personal and spiritual growth. When we resist isolation, we often exacerbate our suffering, but if we can accept our solitude and use it for introspection, we can find meaning and purpose in the experience even when it's imposed on us. Forced isolation challenges us to develop resilience, flexibility, and inner strength. It may not be comfortable or easy, but in facing this challenge, we can learn how to adapt, grow, and find clarity in the midst of adversity. When approached with the right mindset, forced isolation can become a powerful catalyst for change. The power of acceptance, navigating both types of isolation. The key to navigating both voluntary and forced isolation lies in acceptance. When we resist being alone, we often fill the void with distractions, work, technology, social media, or even superficial relationships, in an attempt to avoid confronting our inner world. This resistance prevents us from fully embracing the transformative potential of solitude. On the other hand, when we accept isolation as an opportunity, we begin to uncover parts of ourselves we may have never known. By allowing ourselves to be present in the moment, free from external noise and distractions, we create the space needed to grow, reflect, and deepen our self-awareness. Whether the solitude is self-chosen or thrust upon us, embracing it can lead to profound insights, a stronger connection to our true self, and an enhanced understanding of the world around us. Voluntary isolation, the path to spiritual alignment. Voluntary isolation offers the gift of time and space to connect with the transcendent, to find inner peace, and to explore the deeper questions of existence. It is in these moments of quiet and stillness that we can hear the whispers of our inner voice and gain access to truths that are otherwise hidden behind the noise of daily life. This type of retreat allows us to align with our deepest values, clear away mental clutter, and cultivate a deeper sense of purpose. It offers us the clarity needed to make decisions that are in harmony with our true essence and to deepen our relationship with the divine or the universe. Through voluntary retreat, we learn the importance of silence and calm. It teaches us that by stepping back from the demands of the world, we can reconnect with ourselves and our higher calling. It is a practice of tuning in, of attuning ourselves to what truly matters, free from the external pressures and distractions that often cloud our judgment. Forced isolation, finding meaning in adversity. Forced isolation, while challenging, offers an opportunity for growth and adaptation. It forces us to find new ways to cope with life's challenges and to seek meaning, even when the circumstances are not ideal. By embracing this kind of solitude, we learn to navigate difficult times with grace, to develop resilience, and to find balance even in the midst of chaos. Forced isolation teaches us that we are stronger and more capable than we may have realized. It encourages us to reevaluate our priorities and to let go of attachments that no longer serve us. When faced with forced isolation, we are forced to confront our vulnerabilities, our fears, and our limitations. But it is through this confrontation that we can build strength and clarity. We emerge from these periods of solitude with a fresh perspective, equipped to face the challenges of life with renewed purpose and understanding. The dangers of avoiding solitude. In today's fast-pacing world, solitude and isolation are often viewed with suspicion or fear. We are conditioned to believe that being alone is a sign of failure, loneliness, or something wrong. Our society values constant activity, superficial interactions, and instant entertainment, all of which pull us away from introspection and self-acknowledge. However, as Carl Jung warned, the avoidance of solitude comes at a cost. When we constantly flee from being alone with our thoughts, we avoid the inner work necessary for true growth. The rejection of solitude often leads to superficiality, as we seek validation and distractions in the external world. We may immerse ourselves in frantic activity or turn to addictions, social media, or other forms of escapism in an attempt to avoid confronting the discomfort that arises in solitude. But by avoiding these moments of introspection, we avoid the crucial work of individuation, the process of integrating the various parts of our psyche, including the shadow aspects of ourselves. The shadow and the importance of solitude. Jung's concept of the shadow, the hidden, repressed parts of ourselves, illustrates the danger of avoiding solitude. When we resist confronting our shadow, we prolong our suffering and prevent our personal growth. The shadow contains our fears, repressed desires, and unresolved emotional conflicts. By avoiding solitude and introspection, we avoid the process of integrating these aspects of ourselves. The shadow does not disappear by ignoring it. In fact, the more we avoid it, the more it exerts unconscious control over our lives, often manifesting in unhealthy patterns and behaviors. The transformative power of solitude lies in its ability to help us face our shadows. Through deep reflection and introspection, we can begin to integrate these repressed parts of ourselves, leading to greater wholeness and authenticity. By embracing solitude and the challenges it presents, we allow ourselves to heal, grow, and step into a more empowered version of ourselves. The transformative potential of solitude. Solitude, while uncomfortable at times, offers a unique opportunity for deep personal reflection, emotional clarity, and spiritual growth. Great thinkers, artists, and spiritual leaders throughout history have utilized periods of isolation to connect with their inner selves, develop revolutionary ideas, and produce works that have left a lasting impact on humanity. In these quiet moments of solitude, they found inspiration, clarity, and wisdom. Rather than viewing isolation as an obstacle, we can reframe it as a powerful tool for personal transformation. When we stop resisting solitude, we open ourselves up to the profound potential it holds. Solitude allows us to reconnect with our true essence, rediscover our passions, and find the clarity we need to live more authentic and meaningful lives. Isolation as a path to self-acknowledgement and creativity. Insights from great thinkers. Isolation, far from being a mere retreat from the world, can serve as a profound opportunity for self-discovery and creativity. Many great thinkers, artists, and philosophers have turned to solitude not just for rest, but to find clarity, inspiration, and answers to life's deepest questions. Their experiences show us that isolation, though challenging, holds transformative potential. Friedrich Nietzsche, The Power of Solitude in Questioning Societal Norms. One of the most notable examples of solitude as a source of profound insight is Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher whose work radically shaped modern philosophy, literature, and psychology. Nietzsche spent long periods of his life in isolation, particularly in the mountains of Switzerland, where he sought refuge from both the pressures of academic life and the debilitating illnesses that plagued him. During these retreats, Nietzsche developed many of his most influential ideas, including the concept of the Übermensch, the overman, and the declaration of the death of God. His solitude allowed him to step away from the noise and expectations of society and question the prevailing social, moral, and religious norms of his time. Nietzsche's retreat was not an escape. Rather, it was a necessary condition for his creative and intellectual clarity. In isolation, he found the space to think critically and propose new ways of understanding human existence, challenging traditional paradigms of morality, meaning, and purpose. Henry David Thoreau, Solitude as a Path to Simplicity and Authenticity. Another powerful example is Henry David Thoreau, the American writer, philosopher, and naturalist, who famously documented his time spent in solitude in his book Walden. Thoreau retreated to a cabin by Walden Pond in Concord, Massachusetts, with the intention of simplifying his life and reconnecting with nature. His solitude was a conscious decision to remove himself from the distractions of modern life and live according to his own values, rather than societal expectations. In this isolation, Thoreau found not only peace, but also profound insights into the essence of life. His reflections on nature, simplicity, and self-sufficiency in Walden continue to resonate today, encouraging readers to find balance, to reconnect with nature, and to live more consciously. Thoreau's retreat became an exercise in self-discovery, showing how solitude can allow us to strip away superficial needs and rediscover our core values and purpose. Carl Jung, The Sacred Space of Solitude and the Unconscious. For Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, solitude was an integral part of his own process of self-discovery and creative work. Jung built a tower by Lake Zurich, known as the Bollingen Tower, where he regularly retreated to reflect, meditate, and engage in deep introspection. In this isolated setting, he was able to explore the depths of his unconscious mind and develop many of his foundational ideas, including the theory of archetypes and the concept of individuation, the process of becoming the person we are inherently meant to be. Jung's time in isolation was not just about escaping the demands of his clinical practice in the external world. It was a sacred space where he could connect with what he called the collective unconscious, a universal repository of shared human experiences and symbols. It was in this solitude that Jung had vivid dreams and visions, many of which formed the basis of his most influential work. Through this process, Jung came to see isolation not as a negative experience, but as a necessary condition for personal and spiritual growth, a way to delve into the deepest layers of the psyche. The transformative power of solitude. What these thinkers demonstrate is that isolation, far from being an obstacle or punishment, can be a catalyst for creativity, insight, and transformation. Solitude allows us to step back from the distractions and demands of the external world, creating the space needed to reconnect with our inner selves. It is in these quiet moments that we can confront our innermost thoughts, fears, and desires, and ultimately come to understand our true nature. In a world that often prioritizes constant activity, external validation, and social connectivity, we may undervalue the profound benefits of solitude. Yet, as Nietzsche, Thoreau, and Jung show us, isolation offers a unique opportunity to explore the hidden layers of our psyche and discover truths that might otherwise remain buried beneath the noise of everyday life. Embracing isolation as a path to wholeness. In essence, isolation is not simply a retreat from the world, but a chance to reconnect with deeper sources of wisdom and inspiration. By embracing solitude, great thinkers have been able to step outside societal conventions and limitations, opening themselves to new ways of seeing and being. Through isolation, they have cultivated the clarity and creativity needed to contribute ideas and works that have had lasting impacts on humanity. For those of us facing moments of solitude, whether by choice or circumstance, we can draw inspiration from these examples. Rather than resisting isolation, we can choose to see it as an essential part of our journey towards self-acknowledge and growth. By stepping into these moments with an open mind, we too can discover clarity, creativity, and authenticity. The challenge and opportunity of solitude. Solitude is not always easy. It is a challenge that can feel isolating and painful. However, by embracing it through the lens of Carl Jung's ideas on individuation, we can see it as an essential part of our journey toward wholeness. It is a time to face ourselves without the distractions of the external world. Instead of viewing isolation as a punishment, we can approach it as a fertile ground for growth and transformation. In these moments, we can uncover who we truly are, gain new perspectives, and emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our true purpose.